Are you thinking about jumping into real estate, but you know that the failure rate is nearly 90%? This is the Realtors Playbook. I'm here with Shelly Szmyt, rock star, real estate agent, Mass, New Hampshire licensed, and she's been in the business for about 5 years. And you definitely want to hear her story because as I said, the failure rate is so high. So if agents get licensed today, as Shelly and I know, by month 13, most of them are gone. They can't even get past month 13, which is unbelievable. So, Shelly, thanks for joining us today, and tell us a little bit about your business, where you work, and what areas you service, and then we'll kind of jump in.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Shelly Szmyt. I work with the Jason Mitchell Group. They are actually out of Arizona. I opened up the states, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I'm the broker and division president. We've got a team of 13 other agents. And I started in 2019. And you want me to tell this story?
Yeah,
Want
definitely.
me?
I already know the
All right.
story, but listeners, you want to hear this story, definitely.
All right. So 2018, long story short, I found myself an apartment in Manchester. I was working in Manchester corporate. I actually had lived in the same building I found. It was very strange, crazy universe, law of attraction type of thing. But lived in the building about maybe 8 years prior. And then was looking for an apartment, found this beautiful apartment. I felt it. I was like, this is my place. Got the apartment. I actually called the landlord and she was like, Shelly, this is Gretchen. You actually rented from me. This is a different apartment, but in the same building. And if you want it, she's like, I've got 50 showings this weekend, but if you want it, I know you and you can have it. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Signed the lease with her later that week and I said, I'm going to buy this house from you. And she was like, yeah, no, I'm not selling it. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I am going to buy it from you one day. So 6 months later, I actually bought the property from her, and that was in November of 2018. At that time, I was still working corporate, but I was starting to take my classes for real estate. And I was just at the end of my rope with corporate America, and I was like, I've got to make a change. So I ended up finishing out my classes, but I had nothing to my name except for that house, and I was basically living for free. And I was like, if I'm gonna do real estate, I don't even know where to begin, but I know that I've got to get my classes done and I've got to pass that exam. I'm just gonna leap. So I gave my notice, gave my 2 weeks, finished off my 2 weeks, and then I had a little bit of time on my hands to study.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pass the first time. I missed it by 1 point, but the second time around I passed, and then I just jumped right into working with a company out of New Hampshire, out of Salem, Nashua, and that was kind of the start of it all. But it was funny because when I actually started, because we talk about like 90% of agents don't make it. So I had no choice. Like I had to be successful because I had nothing else like going for me. So I was like, all right, I've got to make this happen. And within 1 month of getting my license, I was actually with Keller Williams, and they had Tony Giordano come do an event, like a speaking engagement. And I went to that, and that was in June of 2019. And he taught us like some really good tips and tricks regarding social media. And I remember sitting at that meeting and I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, first of all, I wasn't big on social media or anything like that, but I was like, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to build my clientele? Well, I know I don't want to cold call people. I don't want to like go to my sphere and be like, hey, you want to sell your house? Like, randomly to my aunts and uncles, like that didn't feel good. So I was like, I'm just gonna crush social media. And I made that commitment to myself. That next weekend, I started hitting open houses every weekend. And I just asked the listing agent, like, hey, um, I've got a client, like I just made shit up, I was like, I've got a client out of town. I was like, can I take some videos? And they were like, yeah. So I would take videos and then I would post it to my social media. And
Yeah.
I'm like, showing today, open house today.
Right.
And I, I'm not even joking. Like within like a couple of weeks, people were like, yo, you're blowing up social media. Like you're killing real estate, huh? Meanwhile, I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I'm really killing it over here, and realistically, I wasn't doing anything but taking videos. And like, if there was a beautiful house and it was vacant on MLS, I'm like booking myself a showing, going there, taking videos, and I'm like, hey, this is available. So,
Right.
um,
Smart.
yeah, yeah, it was really awesome. So, I think like everything good up there. Sorry, the cats are
No,
they're
that's okay.
they're wild today.
We can all relate to that, and I'll tell you that. And I know we have a common entrepreneur slash social influencer that we both like is Andy Frisella, and Andy
Yeah.
Frisella has it kind of makes me think of you that you were like, I'm going all in. I quit my job. I don't have any money coming in. Maybe I'm living for free, but I still need to eat. And Andy Frisella says we're burning the ships. Like we set fire to the ships, so we can't get off the island. It's over,
Yep.
and we have to kind of move forward. And that's a pretty cool thing and a scary thing, I think, for a lot of people. But it's nice for them to hear somebody that's actually done it.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But the thing is that like it's all mindset, right? So if your mindset is that you're going to be successful at something, you're going to be successful at that. I mean, there's just no turning around there. So that was my mindset. I was like, kind of in fight or flight, and I was like, all right, I've got to make this work because I have bills to pay, and it is what it is. Like I've got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and hey, I want to say in that first year, uh, actually probably February of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was struggling like hard, and I was like, this is it. Like I either like I've got to quit. I probably shouldn't be in real estate because too much. I had a client. I was gonna make the joke. Too many people are dying. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But I did have a client die a week before closing. And it
No.
was like I needed that closing to like pay my
Wow.
bills for the last 3 months. And I was like, oh my God, this is not good.
Yeah.
Uh and then but we came into 2020 and I- all of that work for that first year of me just posting videos, barely having any business. I closed like 7 deals or like 6 deals probably until then, but I was still like really struggling because they were low deals. I was, whatever I could do. Um, and I was like, all right, this is it. Like I either go back to work a 9 to 5 and lose my sanity and my soul, or I figure this out and I just bowl through this point. And thank God I did, and everything turned in 2020. I think I did like 25 deals or 35 deals actually 2020, and it was like unbelievable. So
It
all
is.
that hard work paid off, but you got to get through that first year and you have to understand that it's not easy. Like you're going to hit rock bottom most likely. Like if you've got nothing else going on.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. And just to use some numbers for our listeners, I don't know if it was Inman. Yeah, it might have been Inman. Inman came out. Inman's like the Wall Street Journal of real estate for people that don't know. So Inman came out with some data from 2023 that 50% of the realtors, if you line up half the realtors in the entire country, put a big line in, and line up all the realtors, half of them didn't sell more than one house. They sold
right.
0 or 1. And when Shelly says, I only sold 7, that will kind of give you the mindset of where Shelly is. Shelly's like, 7 isn't enough. like, and that's good though, right? To think that,
Yes.
because even I think even before Inman put that out, I think the average agent was selling about 5 houses a year, prior to that
Yeah.
information. So you were still two above the average, but still thinking like there's more for me to do than this.
Yeah, yeah. I've just got that like I've got to keep going, keep being better. I don't know. Uh yeah. It's actually something I'm working on too because I'm like, all right, I should probably sit in this and be grateful for where I am, and I think it's really important to every day feel that way.
Hmm.
But the more gratitude you have too, the more business you bring and the more uh connections you make and the further you get ahead in life, right? So,
I believe that. And what do you do when, because we all have those days, and I have them too, is when you feel like things are not going in a good direction and you're trying to stay positive, like you said, you have positive mindset and you do believe in yourself. We all do believe in ourselves. I would say all successful realtors do. We don't usually come around and complain to everybody. We're just not that kind of group. But
mhm.
how do you get back on track if you, let's say you wake up and, like you said, you had that deal fall apart for that tragic reason, and that can be demoralizing. You worked really hard for that, and obviously the other side that's pretty awful as well, for sure. But how do you
Mhm.
bounce back? Because good realtors are resilient. So what do you typically do? Is there any strategies that you have?
Yeah, so for me, it's I go inward. So thank God for Erica because Erica's my girlfriend. Um, and she sees me going into the whirlwind where I'm like, all of a sudden this is happening. And I mean, God, it happens a lot. You have these days where it's like everything just comes in waves, right? So you'll have one thing go wrong and then it's like this happens, this happens, this happens, and somebody needs to talk right now. And she sees me like spiraling and she's like, hey, she's like, go breathe, go breathe. Let me deal with this. So she works with me and I need that because I will get myself so stressed out that I'll shut down.
Mhm.
But if I'm alone, let's say, and Erica's not with me or I can't connect with her that day, I will literally just have to take a moment. I go to uh, the sauna or the steam room and
Mhm.
I literally take 10 minutes. I breathe. I get myself back on track and then I'm able to handle it. One of the strategies that I'm working right now, because this job is like it's super stressful. I don't know how you feel, but
We
it's
fake it.
yeah, like we come off like everything's all good, but 24/7 my mind's going and
Yep.
I'm stressed.
Yep.
So it's coping and managing the stress. But what I'm realizing is every time something happens now, I just say, you know, just handle it the best you can. And I truly do. I know 100% of the time I handle it the absolute best that I can, at least in that moment. So I just take a step back and I say, this isn't going to matter in 5 years. It's probably not even going to matter tomorrow.
Hmm.
And so when I'm getting worked up, it's because I care. It's because I want my clients to have a good experience and and I don't want them to feel any bumps in the road. So I take on those bumps. And I think the biggest thing is just like taking a step back and realizing like in the grand scheme of life, like this doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right.
But it's just a mental it's taken me a lot to get to the point where I am today even like a couple weeks ago I was like in a whole different mental state.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, I'm working on these things. They're important because I don't want to die young because of my stress.
No, no, it's true, and I think it's you need to find ways to decompress and to work out and go to the sun. I know you're an active person, and looks like you and Eric are pretty active. I do follow you on social media because and Lex is not here, but Lex is my admin who sits behind me, and I have her follow you too, and we're just crying laughing at the social media that the two of you post. You put a lot of personal stuff on, you put a lot of house stuff on, and I've known you for a long time, but people that don't know you would feel like they know you. And I think that you can see a lot of those stress relievers probably come out in your videos. They're just so funny. And if you don't
I
follow us now,
appreciate
you
that.
really need to. don't follow me, because if you follow me and Shelly, you'll see there's a huge difference between entertainment. you know, but it's so good, and I think that you need that, right? Like I think laughing is really a big deal, to try to relieve some of that stress, because the clients that we work with, we understand how stressful that the stress they're feeling, because it's the biggest purchase or sale of their entire life, and
Mhm.
$750,000 is on the line. It's hard to say, "Hey, relax," to a client. It's just not that easy.
Right. And and I tell them that too, like, look, if I tell my clients in the first meeting, like, if you're feeling stressed about anything, don't feel like you can't talk to us about it. Like,
Right.
tell us what you're feeling so we can assure you or put you in the right direction so you have some answers, because there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to this.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest hurdle for people is like, whoa, what if, you know?
Yeah.
But the point about the videos, I mean, honestly, that's a huge release for us. Um, and it's been uh, an incredible blessing. And like you said, I mean, for anyone new coming into the industry or anyone struggling, like you had made mention, I do a lot of my personal stuff on there. I do that because people don't care that I sell houses. They really don't. Like when I see a realtor just constantly posting, you know, house, 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 I sold this one's under contract. I'm like, cool. It's good that we know you're a real estate agent, but like, if that doesn't benefit me, I want to like know who you are. Like, do I want to work with this person professionally, even if you're a real estate agent? So I try to keep it like 60 to 80% personal and then 20 to 40% um, business.
Yeah.
So people know who I am, they feel connected to me, and then but they also know I do real estate.
I love that. That is so, so true. And there was an office meeting we had, and it was a running joke that I've been doing review restaurant reviews in Andover, Massachusetts, and I'm calling the restaurants and I'm saying, "Hey, I'm going to eat in your restaurant. I'm not going to make fun of your food. Like, how some people do that and they're just mean spirited. So I'm going to places that I like. So I know, like, when I go there, I've been there. I like the food. So I'm going in. I got my my videographer, and I'm literally eating shrimp, and I order way too much food, on purpose. I always say the same joke. Oh, I'm eating light today, and I ended up, and I know this isn't that many views, but it's a lot for what I'm used to. 7,500 views on me eating shrimp. No joke.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. 7,500. So that came up in the office meeting. And I didn't know it was coming up, but office manager said, "Matt, can you please tell the group how many views you got on your shrimp video?" And I said, so I told them, and everyone was laughing. And I said, if it's any consolation, this is a true story. I put a listing on last year. I don't think it got more than 10 views. And it was a professional video. It wasn't like, and the other one was shrimp eating. So
Right.
so when you say I put 70, 80% personal, you're getting a lot of eyes on those, I would imagine.
Yeah, when I look at my statistics and like data from it, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I will say that those numbers of my personal stuff are like triple, quadruple me posting videos. Now, I will say this. There's a lot of apps you can use. CapCut is what I use,
Yeah, that's
that
a good one.
will create reels for you. So when you go on TikTok, are you going to sit there and watch a minute and a half long tour of a house? No, probably not. Like the professional videos are great for local people that are interested, but if you really want to like capture just like the attention of people, you've got to think about what you look at on like, Reels and TikTok and all that. So just keep the mind of your audience or what your audience wants in mind, and it'll better help with, you creating the content. I will say, I don't know if you're on my TikTok. It's probably pretty unprofessional, but I've got a whole
There's
thing.
no, just for the record, there's no question I am on your TikTok. No question.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's blowing up like crazy, but it has nothing to do with real estate. So my goal is to just build that. I'm almost at, I'll be at probably 10,000 followers tomorrow. I'll be able to start making money. So I'm just doing comedy skits
Good
like
for you.
crazy. And then what I'll do is now that I've got like that foundation, once I get there, I'll continue to do the comedy stuff, which is like actually been something I've always wanted to do. And now it's just like the perfect platform. And I had
Mhm.
one video blow up, it's at 1 million views. And now like
It's
all of my
insane.
TikToks are getting, yeah. So now I'm like, okay, cool. I can use this to my advantage. I'm going to keep on that comedy stuff, but then I'll sprinkle in real estate and make sure I'm posting that I'm in Boston or that I'm in New Hampshire or whatever.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And we've talked before. We had met before for coffee, and we talked about websites and things like that. And I know that's not like a huge angle of your business, which you've admitted or whatever. And I know some people will call and say, well, if I don't spend $5,000 on a professional website, so on and so forth. I like your angle because you're like, I'm just going to crank out free social media content. You're obviously getting business from it. Where else do you get business from? Is there anything that new agents might say, you know what, I should consider that? Because I know people get desperate and then all of a sudden they just buy a bunch of leads, and that used to work. It's just not as easy as it used to be. So, do you have any advice for new agents that say, how do I start getting business?
Yeah, it's pretty it's pretty saturated with a lot of those like getting leads sources. For me it's just been social media. My company actually provides leads for agents though, which is great. Although you do have it wouldn't be for a new agent. It'd be for a more seasoned agent. But I think the biggest thing is like find out what works and what I find when you do the natural thing for yourself, it tends to flow, right? So there are people that I know that built their business off of cold calling and they just had like Mojo maybe or one of those
Yeah,
sites
yeah, sure.
and they would sit there for, I mean, I'm not joking. I used to go to the office. This kid was there and he'd be there all day on a dialer. And I'm like, holy shit, like he's killing it. Like I wish I could do that. I don't. I can't. I've got to be on the go. But he would do that and he absolutely crushes real estate now. He started when he was like 17 or 18. He was like, so I think you've got to figure out what works for you. I see people on social media and, it feels forced and stuff, and that's fine, but I tell my agents, I don't think there's a better resource than social media. It's free. So I
Mhm.
tell them, like I have a woman on my team, who just got her license in New Hampshire. And I'm like, all right, how do you plan to market yourself? And she's like, well, social media. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing on there? Like, so we kind of came to the conclusion that she likes to do it yourself projects.
Okay,
So I was
cool.
like, look, go to open houses, do that, but like find your passion and share that. Or maybe it's your kids or your cats or your animals. Like show that part of your life and then sprinkle in real estate. It's very simple.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's smart. I love that. And I think about what I do is a lot of my personal stuff is more um, with my dog.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. So I'll
Some
like
people love that.
they do like I'll be walking in my house and no one knows where we're going, and I turn the corner and then you hear the music from that movie Psycho that has that
Yeah.
shower scene that everyone and you see the dog just looking at me. And I honestly find that so entertaining for myself. But I get more hits off that than I will, um, coming soon or I have a property
Hmm.
under agreement. And
Yeah. Yeah.
think about this because people will. I heard this on a podcast the other day and I thought it was really good. Sometimes we'll look at our views and say, "Oh, I only got 200." Imagine standing in a room with 200 people. I mean,
Right. Right.
sharing I mean, that's a lot of people,
It's a
and
good.
it's a good thing, right? And I made a reference about the shrimp video going, locally viral. 7,500 people are not going to call me to list a property. They found eating the shrimp entertaining, so on and so forth. But the whole idea is what you said is they feel like they get to know you. I think that's important, right? And I also
Yep.
think that when they Google this realtor, that realtor, you want to show up on, because I did Google you before this to see what would happen. And
Oh
you should,
man.
everything is right on social though on page one. So if
Okay.
anybody clicks on those links, and I know like there's some like realtor.com's on there and you have some information there. You have your GMB page, you have a bunch of reviews there. You're a credible source. And then that's important, right? Because anybody that's calling agents, they're gonna Google us. There's no question. They're not gonna say, "Oh, hey, Shelly." Like
I'm gonna take your word for who you are.
yeah, they're gonna watch videos and they're gonna get a sense of who you are before you even knock on that door. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I have, this is no word of a lie and it's kind of ridiculous, but I've gone out places and people will be like, "Hey, you're that realtor. You're funny." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Like, I don't know. I'm like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, local celebrity. Awesome.
Did
Don't
you
blow my
sign up?
head up too big.
Did you sign one of your cards and give it to them?
Yeah. I was like, "Here, you want an autograph?" They're like, "No, not no."
That's absolutely hilarious. But it's the power of the internet. I mean, I had two contractors. This is kind of an embarrassing story, but I had two contractors that were having to do a bunch of work. We own a property down in Cape Cod. It's not anything like the Kennedys or anything. I know some people are rolling their eyes. It's nothing like that, right? It's probably we bought it for probably the price of a condo locally here, um, you know, many moons ago, and it needed everything. And I literally got down to two contractors that I liked, and I started to dig a little bit more, and I found out one had been arrested for breaking into houses. I'm like, the guy was 10 years ago. The guy seemed like he probably cleaned himself up, but I was trying to find like a determining, what's that factor where am I going to pick? Because I thought they were equal. So
Right.
if it's you and another realtor, I guess my point is, and they Google, and you have all these videos and Instagram followers and 10,000 TikTok followers, they know there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on the house, regardless.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest marketing tools that I use for myself is like, "Hey, I've got about probably 4,000 other realtors and brokers in the area that are on my social media."
Hmm.
So when I pump something out, like it's going to other realtors that have clients that are interested in looking at a property like this. So, yeah, I think that's huge. Is like because people don't. I mean, it's going to go on MLS, cool, but what are you doing off of that? I also tell them, and I do. I'll do a Facebook ad for them, so I'll pay for it, and so I'll take the video or I make my own reel, and
Hmm.
then I pump that on Facebook or Instagram or
Yeah.
both.
And it's a big deal too, because it's more than just the MLS, right? But for an example, let's say in the MLS, I put a listing on in West Newbury, which by the way
Mhm.
came on yesterday, if anyone's looking. So
Hey.
it's in West Newbury and it's 1.1. It's a very, very nice house. If I put the house in Andover in a neighborhood, it's probably 1.6. So imagine this, right? You push something out to social media, but you don't put the address. And someone says, "Oh, I really like that house." They don't know where it is. And then they call and they're originally looking in Andover, right? That's all the MLS search has was Andover, Andover, Andover. And we pull them into West Newbury, if that makes sense. Do
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So, because
Totally.
if they only have Zillow set up for the town they want to live in, sometimes that exploration brings them somewhere they couldn't imagine,
Yeah.
because I find that a lot. Like I have another example. I have clients that look in Chelmsford and they're just priced out. And then I bring them into Bradford, like a part of Haverhill, and they're like, "Oh my God, it looks like Chelmsford to me." So I
Right.
think it's important, like pushing stuff out to social, like you said, 4,000 agents, right? They have clients, but also to explore different areas.
Right. And you're the expert. And so, when you know the differences or what they're looking for, if school system's important, whatever it is, you're able to like really narrow that down for them, but also explore other opportunities that, sometimes people are very narrow minded. I have a client right now who's like, "I just want this town." Milford, New Hampshire. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it about Milford that you like? What do you need that's there? Now, sometimes people don't want to switch school systems, things like that. I get it.
That's fair.
Um, but yeah, you have a really good point there. It's like just opening it up.
Yeah. So here's our last segment for today. We'll transition to this. This will be an exciting one.
Right.
So, what do you? And this has come up for years, and it's been in the news, and so on and so forth. That agents are conspiring with commissions and this and that, without discussing specific numbers because we don't need another lawsuit. But
Yeah, of course. Of
the
course.
we get clients that might say, you know what, I'm just going to sell my house by myself. I am an accountant, and my wife is a doctor, and we're just going to sell the house on their own. We don't need you, Shelly. What do you say to that particular person if you feel like, let's say they were on the fence, that they were thinking about hiring a realtor, but they decided they might just do it themselves, and you have, let's say, 1 minute to talk them out of it, and you can't say, well, I don't want to work with you. That's not an option. So what would you say?
Darn.
What would you say to that particular person?
Yeah, you seem like you're going to be a difficult one. No, so I would ask them actually, okay, so talk to me about what your marketing plan is so I can see how I could maybe at least help you there. And then once I hear what that looks like, I would kind of zone in on those types of things. So, like, if they're like, yeah, I'll throw it on Zillow and I'll just, I think for me, I'm going to just talk about the marketing and how I'm going to get it out to a lot more people than they're going to be able to through Zillow. Because again, you're going to have people that, like, let's say there are just people looking just in that one area. Let's say we're looking in, this house is in North Andover. Okay, so your house is in North Andover. You're going to put it on Zillow. And, we really want to expand. We want to get people from all over looking into that. So for me, it's going to be really hitting social media, doing professional photos, video, um, being able to put together a marketing plan that's going to hit all different areas. And depending on the area you work in, where people are typically coming from. Like I don't know North Andover and Andover well enough to know where people are really coming from to move to that area, but um, parts of New Hampshire, it's pretty easy. A lot of people are coming from Massachusetts to New Hampshire,
It's
So
so true. Yeah.
yeah, so for me, it's like, okay, I know, like, if I have a house in southern New Hampshire, I'm probably going to hit Boston and all of Massachusetts, like,
Yeah.
pretty hard to try to, because people in New Hampshire are going to
Yeah.
see the houses, But
Right.
if I can pull people from Mass up to New Hampshire and really market to them, that's going to be my strategy. But yeah, I think what it boils down to is having somebody that knows the process, that has the connections, that has the MLS, that has, the full package to be able to provide them um, a smooth transaction. I think it's funny like when I see people sell their own houses, it's a tragedy because and I'm not talking about them selling their house. I'm talking about the actual process. It skips a lot
Yeah.
of beats. It's never smooth, and there's always arguments and tension between the two parties. I feel like so
It's hard.
it's just best to be represented. Like I'm not gonna go to like my friends who might know how to do something a doctor does, like thinks that they know. You're gonna go to the professional in that field.
Exactly.
So
And
that's
I
that's.
set you up a little bit on this question, and I love your answer. And because we've all dealt with this as realtors. But an accountant, I mean, I can do my own taxes.
Mhm.
I can.
Okay.
I have the legal right to do that. It is a very, very bad idea for me to do my own taxes. And I can get TurboTax, right? Just like a seller can get a Zillow account. I can
Mhm.
do my own taxes, but as a 1099 self-employed, the IRS, by the way, I file taxes with a CPA, but the IRS watches us like hawks, right?
Yeah.
They want everything. If they audit you, they are all over you. And I rely, like you do, on a CPA/accountant to protect us. And I don't like the fee. I don't want to pay it. And I get
Right.
it. They don't want to pay commission. But I'll tell you, I don't have a choice. That's just the way it is. And goodness, on the doctor side, I don't know about you, but occasionally if I'm not feeling well, I'll start to Google and I'll get like WebMD, you know, and like, let's be honest, you need to go to the doctor, right? You got to go. You have no
Right.
choice. We're like, it's unbelievable. We're mandated to have health insurance in this country, right?
I,
You have to have it.
right.
It's not. It's. I don't know if it's illegal. You're not going to go to jail, but I don't know. You have to have it, right? And I use those two professions as it's really no different. I mean, we Shelly and I are in charge of your $900,000 asset. And here's one of the scariest ones. I mean, you did a great job talking about marketing plan. I have met with people that were going to list their house, or they did list their house on their own, and it was built in 1871 or whatever, and it says lead paint, right? And it says none on the listing, and I went, "Oh, do you have a lead certificate? You had it de-leaded?" They said, "No, no, but we replaced most of the woodwork over the years." I
It's a good
said,
way to get sued real quick.
I said the lead could be in the walls. It could be in the ceiling. It still could be behind it. I mean, it could be on the outside of the house, which I've seen on a lead
Right.
test. And like
Right.
you said, that is if a child gets ill with high levels of lead showing up, it is your career in life is over as you know it. It's that serious.
Mhm.
And people
Mhm.
can say it doesn't happen. Yes, it does. You can Google lead paint lawsuits. It's absolutely frightening.
More than you would think. Yeah, for sure. I know it's funny. And the other thing is I see, and you meet with these clients sometimes and you're like, yeah, this is just like they're stubborn, they think they know, and that's fine. They can think they know, but they'll list their house and it's like you way overlisted it. You've got an iPhone picture of the bathroom that's sideways. It's like if you're gonna overshoot, you've got to back it up with the marketing that's gonna get you at least close to there and get some interest. So
Exactly. At least get the professional photos.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Or
But
even
I
the
think
write-ups.
all around,
Yeah, even the
all
write-ups,
around,
right? Like the write-ups, I've seen them before where it says, and people can say I'm being petty, but this is just the law. It is what it is. So fair housing. So if it says something like can walk to the store, can walk to the parks, that's a
hmm
fair housing violation. Whether people agree
right,
with it or not, it is a fair housing violation. You can get fined for it. If you said
sure,
it's near Catholic churches, I'm not offended,
right,
but somebody could be, and that's again that there's another fine. I mean, there's a lot of little nitpicky thing, not nitpicky, but there's a lot of things we can't do, and we
yeah.
know, right, to protect the client by saying that's really nice, but we can't put that in the write up, and these are the reasons why.
Right, right, for sure. The other thing is, I mean, it's just accurate. I don't know if there's data to support it. I think I saw something, but when you list with a real estate agent, you are pretty much setting yourself up to make enough to be able to easily pay off that commission and more, because we're just and as an agent, I don't want to work with the seller on behalf of my clients that are buying. I don't want to work with the seller.
Mm,
I, it's typically those people that list their own houses. They do feel like they know what they're doing, and again, it's just never a smooth transaction. So, put the agent or broker there to represent you. It makes it a lot easier. Makes your house more enticing. When I see somebody selling their own house and my client's interested, I'm like, oh God, I
yeah,
don't feel comfortable because now I've got to kind of play like I've got to, I don't know. Feels like you have to guide that person too on like every
right,
step. It's like this is a waste of like I should
yeah.
be working with a professional.
I agree with that, and it's one of those things. As a buyer agent, we have a fiduciary to our client to protect them in all ways possible, whether a seller or seller's agent agrees with what we're trying to do. It does it legally and ethically. We're not doing anything illegal or unethical. But I would put things in like if it was a condo, let's say it was a for sale by owner, I would put subject to review of condo docs and I would put no date on it. So up
hmm
to the final
Right.
minute of mortgage commitment and closing, we can get out of it.
Oh
Sorry,
my
we
gosh.
the condo docs and we'd like our money back. We're out. And they
You're
couldn't stop.
making such
They
a
won't.
great point.
Yeah.
You are really making such a good point there. I can finagle that contract. I mean, eh, yeah, you could take full advantage of them. It's just
Right.
like,
Right.
hey, day of closing, we want to walk away.
We're
We
out.
can get
Yeah.
our deposit back in
Could you
full.
imagine? You imagine closing like we'll call it May 31st. So
Mhm.
you put mortgage commitment May 30th at midnight, and
Yeah.
subject to acceptable review of condo docs. You know, like, and again,
Right.
we're protecting our client, and an agent like Shelly was listing that she would never allow that. She'd be like,
No.
put a date on that, and there's no way we're accepting that mortgage commitment date. You know,
Right. Right.
right? You know, and it's so funny to us because that could happen, and if I was just a normal consumer, I wouldn't know. And it's just
No, of course.
like a CPA laughing at me, right? Because I don't understand tax law. You know,
Me either. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, definitely hire the agent, interview a couple of them, and I mean that's the best thing you can do for yourself, for your family, and for your sanity.
100%. So Shelly, how do people reach you? I know social media, you're obviously blowing up and doing an amazing job. Is there any way they can contact you via social media or for your phone number? What works best if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm down for either. I mean, on social media, it's just Shelly Szmyt. And are you gonna put my name up there? They'll see it.
Yeah, it's so easy to spell.
SCMYT.
Just
I
kidding.
know. Like if you do that, oh my God. And then so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then my phone number is 603-505-0827. And
Nice.
don't be prank calling me or anything like that. I don't
No,
have
they're
time
gonna
for
prank
it.
call you. They're gonna put you on their social. They're gonna follow you on social right away, and we'll make sure
Yeah.
we get those spelling correct because they might be following a different Shelly Schmidt if
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
because there was another Shelly Schmidt, just a different spelling. So, all right, awesome. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone had a good time with this episode. We went a little bit over, but it was too much fun. I didn't want to end it. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.